Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Spring 2026 New Jersey Film Festival Filmmaker Q&A series. Today we have two wonderful filmmakers and three lead actors for the terrific film Anda, which will be screening at the New Jersey Film Festival online on Sunday, January 25th. The film will be available for 24 hours on that show date. And I'll be showing you how you can buy tickets at the very end of our Q&A. But I would like to welcome everyone. Jay Ganta is the director. He's also the producer and the screenwriter, co-screenwriter with Caleb Bell Jones. They're the guys in the two middle screens. And then we have Caroline Duncan, who's next to me. And then we have Peyton Michelle Edwards, who's below Jay, and we have Amy Warner, who's below Caleb. Welcome, everyone. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for having us.
So, guys, you tell me how you got involved in making this film. Tell us about the genesis and the process that you went through to make it happen.
I'll start and I'll let Caleb jump in. Well, the genesis happened in my brain. I was just thinking about, hey, I want to make a feature film. I was always interested in dark fantasies. So I was like, well, what is something I can do it myself with a few talented people? So it came through in a way that the genre I wanted to try, the story I wanted to tell. And then Caleb and I met in a filmmaking community called Backlot. And he was writing his script and I was writing my script. And we just, as people who live in Minneapolis, had a conversation and we bounced ideas. And next thing we knew, we wanted to do this project together. And here we are. We made this film.
We really need to say that Anda is a visually haunting and lyrical film that blends Nordic folklore with surrealist storytelling and modern themes. I'm stealing your blurb, Caleb and Jay. And the film is exactly that, and it's a very dreamlike film. Can you tell us about, how you were able to enlist these beautiful actors to be part of your film?
Yes, absolutely. So I think my recollection is like I used Backstage, to just do, because I didn't have any network of people that I could tap into. So I just went scouting for actors by myself. So there was no casting person. And literally, having conversations when, people were interested, and as I was doing the auditioning and, Caroline, Peyton, immediately I looked at them and I thought like they would be great. And then Amy is here in Minneapolis, and I met her in person, and I think they're super talented, and they were immediately drawn to the story. And Caleb and I thought like they would be perfect for these roles, and as you can see in the film, they've done an outstanding job.
Oh, absolutely. It's a mother-daughter film, and
Yes.
the way that the film begins is that you have um, a woman who's gardening, and tilling the soil is very important to the film. And
Yes.
this Earth Mother, and all of a sudden her mother comes back, but as a much younger woman.
Yeah.
And so this mother-daughter relationship takes on, ominous dimensions, because just by science fiction-y kind of elements that come into play, they're able to both become younger. And this sets off a whole series of questions. And I mean, the film is a dream film for me, a fever dream, if you like.
Yeah.
And was that something that you had imagined?
I thought so, because those are the style of films I am gravitated towards, and intentionally I wrote it in that way, where you explain a little from a writing perspective, but more visually tell what's happening, so people have to put putting a puzzle together is how I was trying to narrate it and try to have the audience be part of that journey.
Yeah, for sure. I think I saw Peyton in another film. I think it was called The Weekender. Is that correct? Yeah, because I
Yeah, yeah.
recognized you, and I thought, the chemistry between, um, Norma and Viola, I guess those are the names of the mom and the daughter, are really, really quite strong. And yet, when I watched the film, I thought that the way that you interacted and had to kind of feed this alien being without giving too much away to the audience. Were there any difficulties in making the film for you two, all three actors? Were there any challenges that you discovered? Moments of trauma? No.
No trauma, no trauma.
No trauma.
No. I do think, one of the really cool and exciting challenges was between Amy and I in crafting the same character. And, each working on our own versions of the same person, and then having to sort of come together in the rehearsal process. And of course, during shooting, to make sure that that was one person. And then make sure that as the character goes through her arc and changes as she experiences these very magical and, as you said, dreamlike things, that we were aligned in what that arc would be. And so it made for a very, very interesting working relationship with Amy. And it was really wonderful to get to collaborate in such an intense way almost. And I haven't played another role where I've gotten to collaborate so closely with another actor on the character herself. And it was just a gift. I mean, it was a joy. And it was one of those challenges that made the film all the more worth it.
So was the film shot in and around Minneapolis?
That's right. All in Minneapolis.
So that lake, was the water really freezing? Or did you shoot in the summer? Did you shoot in the summer?
It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. It was, we were, I guess, what was it, September, Jay? So a little chill in the air, a little bit cold, but it wasn't too torturous.
Those are my, Caleb and I tell ourselves those are our best shots. They're like, oh, those are so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, gosh, the DP also needs a shout out. Matteo Bertoldi did an excellent job. I mean, his handheld work is terrific, and he had to get in the water and everything to shoot a lot of those scenes. But I think, it's no accident that you use some of those images on your poster and your publicity material, because I think, we're dealing with the elements here. And I think, it's a ghost story, it's a dream film, and all of these elements come together where you're dealing with longevity of life and how limited it is. So all these questions are brought forth. And I wondered, Jay, in your intro, you talked about this connection to mythology. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on what Anda means and, how you came to using that as the name of your film?
Yeah, first I always growing up in South India, I was drawn to myths and stories that are so central to the belief system of people. So, but for me, I'm also looking at the world from India, and I was always drawn to the corners of the world. We had Nordic countries. So wanted to bring some of those elements together as I live in Minneapolis. And Anda really means egg, and that significance of that, in the film you would see how the characters interact with it. In Sanskrit, it means the beginning of and the youthfulness. So I thought first it was wanted it to be more of fairy tale, but when we crafted the story of Anda, it was more central to the overall arc of what life means, where it begins, and how these characters are interconnected to being youthful.
So my other question is about the music is also quite wonderful, and Monkey Scarf. Can you tell us about them too? Or
absolutely, Monkey Scarf is actually Jeff Deeth, who's our sound designer, mixer, but he's also a really talented musician and composer. So Caleb and I worked really close with him and gave him a lot of liberty with respect to, what he could tell, from a music perspective, the story, because it's so, as you can see in the film, there's a lot less dialogue, but it's the sound is a huge element and I wanted to make sure he has the overall breadth to play with sonically and bring it to life. And I think he did a fantastic job as well.
Yeah, I mean, when there's the transformation, when the women are going back to reverting to their original selves, the kind of creaky bone sound. I was wondering how he did that. And I guess my next question is for Amy. Amy, the way that you work in this film is very subtle. And did you kind of premeditate it that way, or did you get direction from these guys to do it that way? In other words, your performance is understated. It's not overstated.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you wanted to do, or is it something that the director?
Well, I think that she's a very intimate, quiet, living by herself lady.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have a lot of reason to make a big expression out of things. It's just her and her inner dialogue of day to day. So, no, I wasn't conscious of I have done some film work, and I've done more theater work, but I understand the difference, the need for there to be a difference in that kind of work.
Yeah, I mean, theater is much more gestural. I think cinema is really
bigger.
The subtleties, yeah, for sure. The interaction with Matthew, and does Amy really desire Matthew? Is that something that was built into the screenplay, or it feels that way, but she kind of.
I think so. I think, I mean, Norma, not Amy.
Norma.
Although Amy was sort of interested in him too. But no, I think, of course, Norma is, and it's a humiliation for her that she has to pay for companionship for these, guys to come over and, help her learn how to cook and things like that. But it's a bit of a fantasy also that I'm having a date for tonight, so I think she's used to entertaining wishes about what her life might be like were she younger, like that.
And Caroline, you had to kind of do yourself up in an unusual way. And the accent, was that something that these guys asked you to do, or is that something you came on board with?
No, we had some discussions about it. It's been so long that I don't remember exactly how this played out. But the Swedish that's within the movie and the dialect is something that we found some kind person. I think she was an academic. Is that right, Jay? Yes. And she sent me the lines in dialect, and then I just listened to as much dialect work as I possibly could and just did my best and let the chips fall. But all of the runes that are on her hands as tattoos and the symbology, her appearance, that was something that we kind of agreed on together. And I'm already a magical practitioner and very interested in the runes in Nordic mythology. So for me, that's one of the things that drew me to this story.
You look like Andie MacDowell.
Oh, thank you. She's such a babe. Thanks so much.
It is. And I think that just the way that you perform, and I mean, the whole package is really intriguing, and yet you're so mysterious, and we're not really sure what to make of you when we're watching the film. And the bird metaphor, the references to the green juice and feeding the being, I think all of those things, you did a great job. It's so believable.
Oh, thank you. We wanted her to be creepy, but not like a far out villain. And that's a hard line to ride when you're doing a dialect and you really look like a character and you're gonna suck the blood of some fairies.
Yeah.
It's hard to be ultra believable within that. Like, we wanted to make sure that it was relatable. So we did our best. I'm glad.
I mean, I found the film to be very Lynchian in so many ways. I mean, poor David Lynch just passed away, but there were a lot of references to that. I also thought of The Shining, where the Jack Torrance is making love to this young woman in the bathtub, and then she turns into the older woman. That I don't know, Jay. Maybe you channeled your inner Kubrick a little bit in the film. Is that true, Caleb?
Yeah, it was interesting coming onto the project. I mean, for me, Jay and I had been exchanging script notes for quite a few months for my script and his script, and then when I came onto the project full time, we had already been kind of exploring the idea of like, how do you portray a fictionalized mythology that you're creating to set this story inside.
Mm.
I think that a lot of the imagery and poetry and a lot of the symbolism came from us kind of like building out a world that this, in our minds, the story was taking place in. And I think throughout the film, you're getting little glimpses of that. And we wanted to feel like, oh, there is more going on here than we're seeing on screen, that there is some sort of lineage and tradition, and that all of this symbology and metaphor is rooted in kind of the shared history of this family and of the Onda folklore and all of that. And so I think that Jay and I were like, well, how much can we actually put in the film? How much do we need to leave out? And a lot of that, I think, really came down to, just the constraints of, well, how many days can we shoot? And what is the most important thing for the emotional impact? And Jay was very interested in kind of the like mythic psychology, if you will. And so I think that we tried to include enough of that, the symbology of those myths to have it feel grounded, but not like it was, going into the realm of a literal science fiction film about this type of. It's not really about the magic; it's about the mythic psychology. And so I think that Jay was really walking that line of trying to figure out how to get the feeling more so than just like, here's how the magic works, the mechanics of it, so to say.
I mean, the film has got 5 basic locations, but it feels really big. I mean, so that kudos to you guys for making it look like millions and millions of dollars, which, I don't know what your budget was, but it looks like, a really wonderful indie film with a nice budget, and you're able to do so much, and I'm sure with very little. So
Yes.
kudos to you guys. Could you give me the sense of the timeline for the making of the film? So Jay, you had this idea, you started writing. Tell me, how long did it take to kind of go from the beginning to in the can, if you could?
Yeah, it took at least like 6 to 8 months for me to have a screenplay, like a first draft which I shared with Caleb, and we went couple of rounds figuring out like what works, what doesn't work, and after that, I think the pre-production was around like 3 to 4 months, and then we had like 2.5 weeks of shoot time. So like you said, limited locations, but it was all intentional because we were dealing with constraints of time and what Caleb and I can actually do with the cast and crew, and so there was that fine balance between what the vision was, what we can even do within 2.5 weeks. But I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to Caleb.
No, I think it was like January when I came onto the project, and Jay already had the first draft of the script that he'd been working on. And so we spent basically all of the spring through March just working on the script, and then basically March through September in pre-production, building out the schedules, bringing all of the different cast and crew on board, location scouting, and kind of plotting everything out. And then it was a 17-day shoot. We originally started out as 15 days. I think we did 17 days with most of the cast and crew, and then a couple pickup days with just B-roll with our second unit DP.
Because PEYTON had to come from New York. PEYTON, you're originally from North Carolina, or that's where you went to school, I think I read.
Yes. I went to school in North Carolina. I was born there, and I spent some time outside of Atlanta as well. So Southern gal, but I've been in New York for 9 years now.
Cool.
So.
But you had to fly to Minneapolis for the shoot, and the same thing with
did.
Caroline. Caroline, you're from South to South also?
I'm from the South, yeah. I'm currently in Alabama, but I was like, was I already living in Alabama? Yes, I was. I'm in New York, though, really. So yes, I drove from Alabama to Minneapolis because I just enjoy some scenery.
So did you guys have to do screen tests on Zoom, or did you physically come up to do that? Everything's on Zoom these days, I guess, when you're doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, crazy. And
it was on Zoom, but it was during COVID time,
So who did you select? Who did you select first to be? Who was your your first selection for one of the lead roles? Was Amy the first person because she was local?
No, actually, I thought, but Caroline was the first one. I believe Amy and then Peyton, because wanted to make sure like you know the mother and daughter have can actually two actors can do that together. It was a bit challenge,
you
but
need to make sure the chemistry was
yeah.
right. Yeah.
And I think once I saw Peyton and her performance, and I was like, okay, she's perfect.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, we found Amy through a local Minneapolis actors roster that I think was through actually theater
Mm.
Oh,
actor roster, and then we had kind of looked at a lot of other tapes that had been sent in for Amy's character, but once we found her, she was local, willing to work with us. But then it was really challenging. We went through a lot of different auditions looking for somebody who had a similar. It was a combination of energy, willingness to work that way, but also someone who would be believable as Amy, look alike, right? So that it
yeah.
wasn't too jarring. And actually, that was the challenging piece of the puzzle, was trying to find somebody who kind of met those three things that we were looking for. And we got a bunch of amazing tapes, but ultimately, yeah, Peyton was the one who,
And the
like,
look was
ours
important.
was like, oh, perfect. She made the decision really easy for us.
Yeah, because you wanted to be believable, the transformation. Another
Mhm.
movie I thought of was the movie Seconds. I don't know if you know John Frankenheimer's movie from
Yeah.
1966. It's about a guy who gets a second chance at life, and it's this 65-year-old banker who's not happy with his life, and then he ends up being transformed for a fee, and he becomes Rock Hudson. That one is like not very believable, but he goes through all these surgeries and stuff so you end up suspending disbelief. But yeah, the film is wonderful. I enjoyed it. I've watched it a few times, and I know there's going to be two wonderful reviews that you'll be able to read when they go live sometime later this month. But I'd like to just pause and share screen since I'm running low on time and show our audience how they can purchase tickets. So we're going to go here. So our website is at njfilmfest.com. And normally everything would be here, but we've become a hybrid festival because of the pandemic. We were one of the first festivals to actually screen films online. And we partnered with Eventive because they were already streaming films for Lionsgate and some other big name studios. And they were very reasonable, and they provided you with a discount if you're a nonprofit, which we are. And so we stayed a hybrid because we had patrons from all over the world. And we have one lady from Oklahoma City who watches everything. And we didn't want to shut them out once we went in person. So the way that you go to our website, you click on njfilmfest.com, and then you'll get to this page right here. You click on tickets and info, and it'll open up our Eventive website, which is where everything is. The welcome page provides you with basic information. You can click on the links to buy a pass or individual tickets. Individual tickets are $15. If you need more info about sponsors, you just keep scrolling down. But at the very top, you'll see these other red buttons, and you click on schedule. And this is a very generic vanilla schedule, which is text-based. And you scroll down and you can see that Ando is going to be playing with another short film called The Game Camera, and by Emily Railsback. She's from Chicago. So two really wonderful Midwest films are going to be playing online for 24 hours, and it starts at 12 midnight Eastern time. So for you guys, it would start at 11 o'clock the previous day. So if it says Saturday, January 24th, that's why. So you can also go to menu and click around. The film guide has individual placeholders for each movie. And here's the ANDA poster and some images and a blurb about the film with cast and everything. And then you can go back to the welcome page. And if you would like to buy a pass, it's $120. If you want to watch a lot, it's worth it because it's like half off if you wanted to watch everything. And so that's where you would do that. And let's see what else we can do here. we are doing a couple of free workshops for students, intro to filmmaking and the film business taught by an entertainment lawyer. And that's basically it. I want to just stop sharing and say thank you to you guys for hanging out with me for this half hour or so. And I look forward to sharing your film with our audience. I know they will love it. And I wish you all the best. And thank you so much for joining us for this time period. You guys have anything else you wanted to add before we say adios to our audience?
Thanks,
No,
audience.
just
Thanks for
wanted
the chance.
Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
it's my pleasure, and I look forward to meeting you in person one day. I know we'll see Jay and Caleb. They're coming to the festival, but I look forward to meeting the women who are part of this great film at some point in time. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see everybody.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.